Chamber of Secrets. It's Harry's birthday, first chapter, but it's not a good birthday. In one sense, it's like every other birthday he's had, in that he doesn't get any presents, gifts, etc. from friends. In his previous 11 years, he hasn't had any friends. But this is his worst birthday. We're also told at the beginning, in the opening chapter, the Dursleys are having a dinner party that evening. And so they've got to be on their best behavior. And Harry, not having a good day, makes Dudley think that Harry's going to perform magic, so Harry is punished by having to do all the yard work, etc. And he's forced into his bedroom for the evening, where he will stay, out of sight, out of mind, and silent. So he goes up to his room, and on page 12, Dobby's warning, we're introduced to Dobby. And Harry says, hello. Harry Potter. So long as Dobby wanted to meet you, sir. Such an honor it is. Harry, thank you. Who are you? Dobby, sir. Just Dobby. Dobby the house elf. Harry's like, okay, not a good time. Is there any reason you're here? Well, yes, sir. Dobby has come to tell you, sir. It's difficult. And Harry says, sit down. And Dobby bursts into tears. Harry's like, what have I done, Sit down. Never, never, ever. Didn't mean to offend you. Offend Dobby. Dobby's never been asked to sit down by a wizard like an equal. Okay. Harry, gets Dobby to sit down on the bed. And Harry says, well, you can't have met many decent wizards. Okay, we've already been told Dobby's a house elf. We don't know who he's house elf to, but we come to find out he belongs to the Malfoys. So when Harry says you can't have met many decent wizards, that's almost a bit of understatement. Okay? Dobby shakes his head, and then he starts banging it against the window. Bed Dobby, bed Dobby. What are you doing? Dobby had to punish himself, sir. Dobby almost spoke ill of his family, sir. And Harry's like, what? Why doesn't Harry understand anything about house elves? He's never seen one. And from what we've gathered in book 1, how much has Harry read about the magical world? Only what is required for the classes. And not even that, because you rely so much on Hermione. Right? Harry, do they know you're here? Because Harry asks, your family. The wizard family, Dobby serves, sir. Dobby's a house elf, bound to serve one house and one family forever. Do they know you're here? No. Dobby will have to shut his ears in the oven door for this, sir. Okay. Harry, why don't you escape? House elf must be set free, sir. The family will never set Dobby free. Dobby will serve the family until he dies. Harry, and I thought I had it bad. Staying here for another 4 weeks. Okay. In the previous book, where was that? In the previous book, Harry thought he had it bad. Right at the beginning. Until he meets the boa constrictor, right? He meets the boa constrictor. He learns the boa constrictor has been raised in captivity. And Harry thinks, and I thought I had it bad. At least I'm not behind a glass wall. Well, he is kind of, right? I mean, isn't everybody watching Harry all the time, seemingly? Okay. So, Harry thinks, I thought I had it bad staying here for another 4 weeks. This makes the Dursleys sound almost human. Can't anyone help you? Can't I? Okay. We saw in book 1, he and Malfoy are going off to the thing they see at the unicorn. He puts his arm out to stop Malfoy. Why? He's trying to help. He goes beneath the trap door. Why? Just for himself? No, it's to protect all the wizarding people. Because as he tells Ron and Hermione, if Voldemort comes back, if Voldemort gets the stone, he'll destroy Hogwarts. He'll flatten it. He'll turn it into a school for the dark arts or something. Harry's trying to protect everybody, not just himself. Dobby starts to wail. Harry, psh. Harry Potter asks if he can help Dobby. Dobby has heard of your greatness, sir. But of your goodness. His goodness. What does he mean by Harry's goodness? Okay? Harry wants to help Dobby. What again is Dobby's experience of wizards? Malfoys. Okay? Dobby never knew. Harry, whatever you've heard about my greatness is a load of rubbish. I'm not even top of my year at Hogwarts. That's Hermione. What does Harry, in that sentence, equate with greatness? Grades. Okay? Grades. What did Harry do at the end of the previous year? Or the end of the previous school year, I should say.
He kind of fought off Voldemort a little bit.
Yeah! He defeated Voldemort again. This time, consciously. This time, he knew what he was doing. But notice, Harry doesn't think of that as greatness. Okay? So if he doesn't think of it as greatness, what does he think of it as? I used the example in my class last night. It's the same class. We were doing Sorcerer's Stone. Have you seen or heard about the incident in California last week? Huntington High School in Huntington Beach, California. This blind kid, who may be slightly autistic, is walking down a sidewalk, and there's somebody on the sidewalk that this kid has a history with. They don't get along. And the kid walks by him, trying to stay out of his way, and this guy just starts wailing, just starts punching this blind kid. He's blind. He can't see where the punches are coming from. Okay? And this guy's just, wailing on him. And a crowd of students form a semicircle around to watch. None of them does anything except pull out their phones to record it. And this other kid comes in, junior, on the football team, and just punches the one guy. Just cold cock. Knocks him out. The guy just falls to the ground like a sack of potatoes and is out for a few seconds. Okay? When he finally comes to, the football player who decked him is standing right there. What the F are you doing, man? Beating on an effing blind kid. If I ever effing see you F with him again, I'm going to F you up bad. Okay? The football player gets kicked off the football team and suspended from school. The kid who does the beating gets arrested, and it's misdemeanor battery, something like that. Okay? The football player gets suspended from school because, like every other damn public school system in the country, they have a zero tolerance policy to violence. Meaning what?
You better get in trouble.
Yeah. All violence is equal in the eyes of the school district. So, whether you're beating on some poor defenseless kid or you're stopping someone from beating on a poor defenseless kid, in the eyes of the school district, doesn't matter. It's the same. I don't know about you, but the world I live in, that is utterly asinine. That is entirely ass backwards. Okay? Dobby's heard of your greatness, sir, but of your goodness, Harry, I'm not great. Why do I bring up the story of the kid in California? What does Harry think of his defeat of Voldemort?
It's not very important. It's not heroic.
It's not heroic. He was simply what?
Acting. Just
Doing what
plans.
what he had to do. I would say doing what any good, decent person would have done. If these kids were in Hogwarts, the kid doing the beating definitely would have been a Slytherin, right? The kid being beaten up would probably be a Hufflepuff. Okay? We didn't talk about the arrangement in the houses the other day. I'm going to do that briefly today. The kid who comes and saves the other kid would have been from what house? Gryffindor. Okay. And probably all those standing around watching and videoing would have been more than likely a collection of houses, but probably primarily Slytherins. Okay? Who gets sorted into Gryffindor? That is, what kind of qualities does Gryffindor seek? Those who are brave, courageous, who show daring and nerve, and who have chivalry. What is chivalry? Louder? Say it.
I don't know if I've ever played so.
That's okay, say it.
No, I don't know.
Okay. It comes from the Middle Ages. It's related to the word cavalier or chevalier in French. It has to do with horseback riding. Knights. Okay? Chivalry is this code of conduct that involves defending the defenseless, defending the weak, helping orphans, helping widows, rescuing damsels in distress. I think it's entirely based upon. In the Arthurian tradition, you have a thing called the Pentecost Oath. This is an oath the knights must recite every Pentecost. If that is, every Pentecost holiday or feast day, right? And the oath is based upon what Christ says in the book of Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, where he's talking about the parable of the sheep and the goats and the last judgment. Right? And in the last judgment, Christ says, there are going to be people, they're going to come up to me, and I'm going to say, go into heaven, go into my right hand, all you, because when I was hungry, you gave me food. When I was thirsty, you gave me drink. When I was in prison, you visited me. When I was an orphan and naked, you clothed me. And when I was a widow, you helped me. All the rest of you go off into hell, because when I was hungry, you didn't feed me. When I was naked, you didn't clothe me. When I was in prison, you didn't visit me. And both groups are going to say, Lord, when did I see you hungry and feed you? When did I see you naked and clothe you? Or, when did I see you hungry and didn't feed you? Etc. Anybody know the one-word reply that begins with one word, sorry? Inasmuch as you have done it unto the least of these, meaning everyone, you've done it unto me. So, inasmuch as you've helped this innocent person, this person being beaten, you helped me. Okay? Helping people who can't protect themselves. Okay? In the Sorting Hat song from Book 1, who goes into Hufflepuff? Those who are just, loyal, patient, and true. And when I went over this last night, I mentioned Hufflepuff, and there's about 20 students in there. There were probably 10 or 15 sniggers or little laughs. And I was like, yeah, everybody get your little laugh out of Hufflepuff, you know. Bunch of losers, right? The Ravenclaw, those of a ready mind, wit, and learning. Okay? Then we have Slytherin, who are described as those who are cunning and essentially seek greatness. Okay? Harry does these things at the end of book 4, at the end of book 1. Why? Because he wants to be great? No. Because it's ingrained in him. When he stops Malfoy from going closer to the unicorn, he can't help himself. Right? When he goes after after Neville's Remembrall in book 1, he's not even really thinking. It's instinctual for him to do what? To protect those who are weak. Okay? So he doesn't see it as an act of greatness. Dobby. Harry Potter is humble and modest. Harry Potter speaks not of his triumph, for he must not be named. Voldemort? Speak not the name, speak not the... You know. Harry, I know, lots of people. Dobby would tell that Harry Potter escaped yet again just weeks ago. Harry nods. Oh, sir, Harry Potter is valiant and bold. So notice what he said. Harry Potter is great. He's good. He's humble and modest. He's valiant and bold. Those are the qualities of knighthood. Okay? He's braved so many dangers already. Harry Potter must not go back to Hogwarts. What is Dobby suggesting? More danger to come. Harry, what? I've got to go back. It's all that's keeping me going. You don't know what it's like here. Really? What has Dobby told him about his life with his wizarding family? What did Harry say? And I thought I had it bad staying here for 4 more weeks. I don't belong here. I belong in your world at Hogwarts. No. Harry Potter must stay where he's safe. He's too great, too good to lose. Okay? Dobby's getting to something. There is a plot, Harry Potter. A plot to make most terrible things happen at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Dobby has known it for months, sir. Harry Potter must not put himself in peril. He is too important, sir. Harry, what terrible things? Who's plotting them? Dobby can't say. Harry mentions Dumbledore. Dobby bows his head, in reverence. He says, Dumbledore's the greatest headmaster Hogwarts has ever had. But there are powers Dumbledore doesn't. Powers no decent wizard. Okay? Dobby makes a bunch of noise again. Vern comes up. And Dobby reveals that he has Harry's letters. Harry figures out he did get Christmas gifts, birthday gifts. Dobby just took them. Okay? So, in order to keep Harry from going off to school, what does Dobby do? Or attempt to do?
Tries to keep him there.
Tries to keep him there by dropping the pudding, making a huge mess. Okay? Notice, it doesn't drop on the Dursleys or on the Masons or anything like in the film. It just on the floor. And Harry immediately gets a letter. The Masons leave. Page 20, Harry gets a letter from Mephalda Hopkirk saying, busted. Harry goes to his room, and Ron and Fred and George are outside his window to rescue him. So they take Harry off to home in their father's flying car. pick up with briefly page 29, 28 and 29. Harry tells them about Dobby. And Fred says, well, is there anyone at school who has a grudge against you? And Harry says, yeah, Draco Malfoy. They talk about the name Malfoy and how Lucius Malfoy was probably one of Voldemort's supporters. Okay. They make it home. Page 33. They run into Mrs. Weasley, who about has a conniption fit. Because she tells them, we've never had any problems like this from Bill or Charlie or Percy. You know, the super children, the all obedient ones. Perfect Percy, mutters Fred. You could do it taking a leaf out of Percy's book. You could have died. You could have been seen, etc., etc. What kind of problems does Harry receive from Mrs. Weasley? Or what kind of berating does Harry receive from Mrs. Weasley?
She doesn't blame him.
Yeah, none. It's not his fault. She's just, happy Harry's there. I don't blame you, dear, she says, page 34. Arthur and I have been worried about you, too. Just last night we were saying we'd come and get you ourselves if you hadn't written back to Ron by Friday. Okay. Harry meets Ginny, who runs off after she squeals. I'm going to skip a bunch. At Flourish and Blots, okay, they go off to school. We see their letters and what books they have to get, and we're introduced, to Gilderoy Lockhart. Page 43. Second year students will require a standard book of spells, grade 2, and then several books, I almost said novels, they might as well be novels, books by Gilderoy Lockhart. Break with a Banshee, Gadding with Ghouls, Holidays with Hags, Travels with Trolls, Voyages with Vampires, Wanderings with Werewolves, and Year with the Yeti. Is Rowling doing anything, suggesting anything by having all the titles be alliterative? Year with the Yeti, Dancing with, what was it? Dragons or something? No.
Sounds
Travels with Trolls, yeah. I think she's suggesting something about the shallowness of his character, okay? Which we're going to see more of. So we also find out that she is somewhat a follower, let's say, of Gilderoy Lockhart. Harry has to travel by Floo powder, but he doesn't end up in Diagon Alley. He ends up where? Nocturne Alley. Okay. Notice the phrase, it's this, but it could also be this. Nocturne, meaning nighttime, like dark alley. Okay? And he sees Malfoy. He overhears Mr. Malfoy trying to pawn off some dangerous things. Okay? He's rescued by Hagrid. And I want to pick up when they go into Flourish and Blots, where they see that Gilderoy Lockhart, page 58, is going to be signing his autobiography. Again, alliterative, magical me. Okay. Hermione's all excited to meet him. Lockhart comes in, sees Harry, wants to get Harry in the picture. Why? Because it'll up the sales even more. It'll help his image. And then on 61, we hear a voice say, "Bet you loved that, didn't you, Potter? Famous Harry Potter. Can't even go into a bookshop without making the front page. Ginny, leave him alone." "Oh, Potter, you've got yourself a girlfriend." Ron, oh, it's you. Looking at one of my favorite lines in all of Rowling. Looking at Malfoy as if he were something unpleasant on the sole of his shoe. Like he'd stepped in, dog mess or something. Okay? Mr. Weasley has to get on to Ron. And then we meet for the first time Lucius Malfoy. Well. Arthur Weasley. Lucius. Busy time at the ministry, I hear. All those raids. I hope they're paying you overtime. Why? Because the Ministry of Magic is raiding people who have dark arts materials. He reaches into Ginny's cauldron, pretty offensive in and of itself, like reaching into somebody's grocery cart, okay? And pulls out an old tattered copy of A Beginner's Guide to Transformation. Obviously not. Dear me, what's the use of being a disgrace to the name of wizard if they don't even pay you well for it? What does that tell us about Malfoy?
He's not on the side of the ministry.
Okay, what else?
He's also pretentious and an asshole.
Okay, all those things. But if you pay him enough, what'll he do? Anything. Okay? What's the use of being a disgrace to the name of wizard if they don't even pay you well for it? He's saying, you paid me enough, I'd be a disgrace to the name of wizard. Of course, he doesn't really have to be paid, he naturally is one. Arthur, we have a very different idea of what disgraces the name of wizard. Clearly. And then he looks at Mrs. Granger, Mr. and Mrs. Granger, Hermione's parents. The company you keep, Weasley, and I thought your family could sink no lower. As Arthur Weasley dives at him, to get the first punch in. Fred and George, get him, Dad! Hagrid comes in. Break it up there, gents, break it up. Malfoy gives Ginny her book back. Not. Gives her book back with something in it. And then Hagrid says these lines. And this kind of becomes the core for this volume, for this book. You should have ignored him, Arthur. Rotten to the core. The whole family. Everyone knows that. No Malfoy's worth listening to her. Bad blood. That's what it is. Come on now, let's get out of here. What has Hagrid just said about the Malfoys? And by extension, others like them. Okay? Rotten to the core. What does that mean?
Evil?
Yes, evil. No good whatsoever. Okay? Everyone knows that. And then he redefines it. Bad blood. That's what it is. Now, if you've read the novels before, what new character do we meet at the very beginning of the third book who is kind of related to Harry? Aunt Marge. Aunt Marge raises bulldogs. And she tells us early on she had to have a man who works for her kill one the previous week. Why? It was a runt. It was scrawny. Bad blood. And she goes on from talking about that dog to Harry and his parents. And she says, it's just like with dogs, Petunia. If there's something wrong with the bitch, there'll be something wrong with the pup. Okay, first of all, she just called Harry's mom a bitch. And Harry realizes that and takes offense at it. She's also said there's something wrong with him. And then she goes on and says, in such case, you ought to just kill him. So Harry shouldn't live. Okay? It's an idea that she's introduced here. This is the kernel of the racism or the prejudice that we see throughout all the novels. Okay? Because what are we going to learn? Is anybody rotten to the core? No. Not even Voldemort is rotten to the core. Okay? Nobody has bad blood. What do? They make bad decisions. Keep in mind, what does Malfoy's name mean? Bad faith. Malfoy. Bad faith. Okay? So, they go out. Mrs. Weasley is just spitting nails mad. Fine example to set for you children. Brawling in public. What Gilderoy Lockhart must have thought. Notice, she doesn't care what anybody else thinks. She cares what little goody Mr. Two Shoes, pretty boy, thinks. Okay? So, they go off to platform 9 3/4, and Harry and Ron can't get through the barrier. So, Ron comes up with the good idea of let's fly the car to school. They do. And they get hit by the Whomping Willow. And they finally get out of it, and they make their way up to school, page 77. They look in the windows to the Great Hall, and they see Snape's not at his place on the table. Ron, maybe he's ill, bottom of page 77. Harry, maybe he's left. Ron, or maybe he got sacked. Or maybe he's waiting to hear why you two didn't arrive on the school train as Snape appears right behind them. Okay? Takes them down to his dungeon. Tells them they were seen in the train and such. Okay? McGonagall and Dumbledore come down. Or McGonagall does at least. No, McGonagall and Dumbledore come down. Dumbledore says, explain why you did this. They do. Okay. Dumbledore says they're not going to be expelled. Page 82. That's on page 81. He says it'll be up to McGonagall to determine how many points or what kind of punishment they will serve. And McGonagall says, and speaking of Gryffindor, page 82, and Harry interrupts her. He says, when we took the car, term hadn't started. So Gryffindor shouldn't really have points taken from it, should it? And Harry thinks that she almost smiles at him like, you sly, cunning little, that's pretty good, pretty fast thinking, Harry. And so she doesn't take any points from Gryffindor, but they both get detention. Now, I didn't talk about this the other day. Gryffindor. I did talk a little bit about name symbolism. This means Griffin d'Or, that is, of gold. A griffin of gold. All right? Well, what's a griffin? Griffins come from ancient Greek literature. What is a griffin made of?
Lion and an eagle.
Lion and an eagle. Okay? What is the lion for mammals? It's the king. He's the king of the beasts. What's the eagle for birds? He's the king. Okay? Where does the lion rule? On the earth. Where does the eagle rule? In the air or in the sky. Okay? Now I've said before, the books are loaded with symbolism and imagery. Okay? Like the other day we talked about the holly and the phoenix feather. Okay? So what do we see here? We see a creature that has kind of two natures. Right? Lion, eagle. But it exists in one thing. So, two natures, one person. If you know anything about Christianity, that's the basic definition of Christ. Two natures, one person. What two natures? God, man. Air, heaven, God. Earth, man. One person. There's only one individual, okay? One persona that those two natures are part of. Am I saying that Gryffindors are Christ? No. But the house is symbolic. The griffin itself is symbolic of Christ. Just like Harry's wand is symbolic of resurrection. Okay, because of the holly in it. I did do this the other day where I showed you. A holly leaf looks like this.
Yes.
It's got the thorns. You put all the thorns together and it's like a crown of thorns. Okay. So, Ron finds out his sister got into Hogwarts, into Gryffindor, thank you. And we meet Gilderoy Lockhart. Now, we might actually finish this book today because there's a lot of it I'm going to completely pass over. We meet Gilderoy Lockhart, and we meet him a couple times actually before Harry is classroom. Harry sees Colin Creevey, wants to take his picture. Lockhart hears about it. What does he think? He thinks Harry is interested in what? Publicity. Why does he think that about Harry?
Oh, because Harry happens to be doing all this stuff and he crashed the car.
Okay. Why else? What is Lockhart guilty of in thinking Harry wants publicity? It's a psychological term.
He wants to.
He's projecting. Because Lockhart lives for publicity. Okay? So when they finally have their first class, what do we learn about Gilderoy Lockhart? Louder?
He's phony.
He's a phony. The guy's a complete charlatan. Right? How well does he handle the Cornish pixies? Not so well. He runs away. Okay. Who's his greatest defender? Hermione. Why? No, he doesn't cast a spell on her, not literally.
Hermione,
So Hermione has.
she knows what to do. She actually
Yeah, but why does she? Because she tries to defend him even after all that. I mean, Harry and Ron go, come on, Hermione, you saw. He didn't know. So why does she defend him? Because he's hot. And he's written 7 books. He's a hot author. Ron says he's written. Okay? Interesting little detail there. And books, and the writing of books, and what is written in books becomes an important little detail. Okay? Or not even what is written in books, but what is written in other things. We're going to skip a bunch. We will talk about this. Page 99. Their first introduction to Lockhart in the classroom. Lockhart comes in, he holds up the book, Travels with Trolls, which notice has his picture on the front. First of all, when an author has their picture on a book, where does it usually appear? Either on the back cover or on the back inside cover if there's a dust jacket. Okay. But Lockhart's is here. Why?
It's about him.
It's about him. What do you see when you go into Lockhart's office? Pictures of him all over the wall. Okay. In other words, he's a classic what? Narcissist. He's in love with himself. Okay. So he points at the picture, me. Gilderoy Lockhart, Order of Merlin, 3rd class. Honorary member of the Dark Force Defense League. Notice, honorary. What does that mean?
He's not official.
He didn't earn it. Okay? And 5-time winner of Witch Weekly's Most Charming Smile Award, but I don't talk about that. Though he just did. He equates that with a member of the Anti-Dark Arts League, etc., or Dark Force Defense League, okay? Then we find out what a fail he's been. And Hermione says, page 103, you've read his books. Look at all those amazing things he's done. He says he's done, says Ron. Okay? We get mudbloods and murmurs. And Wood has booked the Quidditch pitch so his team can practice. And the Slytherins come marching out. And Wood's really angry. Okay? Slytherins have a note from whom that says they may practice? Snape. You just knew it was going to happen. And Hermione's there, and Ron is there. And Hermione runs out because who's now on the Slytherin team? Who didn't make it the first year? Malfoy. How did he get on the team? His father bought his way in. He bought the whole team. Brand new brooms. Hermione, page 112. At least no one on this Gryffindor team had to buy their way in. They got in on pure talent. No one asked your opinion, you filthy little mudblood. And all hell breaks loose. Okay? Harry knew at once that Malfoy had said something really bad. Flint had to dive in front of Malfoy to stop Fred and George jumping on him. Alicia shrieked, how dare you? Ron plunged his hand into his robes, pulling out his wand, saying, you'll pay for that one, Malfoy. The only problem is, what happened to Ron's wand? Okay. Why is it Ron says, you'll pay for that one, Malfoy? Ron's got a soft spot. Ron already likes Hermione. He just isn't willing to admit it yet. Okay? So, Ron tries to curse Malfoy. He's got his wand pointing the wrong direction. Curses himself. And Hermione and Harry take Ron down to Hagrid's. And Hagrid tells them Lockhart was the only man for the job. He says, page 115. He was the only man for the job. I don't mean the only one. Getting very difficult to find anyone for the dark arts job. People aren't too keen to take it on, see? They're starting to think it's jinx. No one's lasted long for a while now. For how long? We don't know this yet, but we find out later in the series. For how long has no one lasted long for a while yet? Since the year Harry was born, no one has lasted in the dark arts job for longer than a year. So they're in their 12th defense against the dark arts teachers. Okay, this year, right? So he looks at Ron. Who are you trying to curse? Malfoy called Hermione something. Harry says, must have been really bad. Ron, it was bad. Malfoy called her mudblood. He didn't. He did. Ron, it's about the most insulting thing he could think of. Mudblood's a really foul name for someone who's muggle-born. You know, non-magic parents. Okay. But mudblood, in our understanding, doesn't carry a strong enough effect. What is mudblood in modern terms? And by the way, J.K. Rowling does not create that term. Okay? Mudblood comes from the early 20th century. Okay? What Malfoy is doing is he's essentially calling Hermione a nigger. Mudblood was used by the KKK in the early 20th century to describe blacks. People who rose from the mud. All right? Some wizards, like Malfoy's family, who think they're better than everyone else because they're what people call pureblood. And he says, come on, look about it. Look at Neville. He's pureblood. Neville can barely walk without tripping. Ron, it's a disgusting thing to call someone. Dirty blood, see? Common blood. It's ridiculous. Most wizards these days are half-blood anyway. If we hadn't married muggles, we'd have died out. Hagrid, I don't blame you, Ron, for trying to curse him. But maybe it's a good thing your wand backfired. Why? Because Lucius Malfoy wouldn't have liked it. Okay? And then what does Hagrid do? Got a beef to pick with you, Harry. Heard you've been giving out signed photos. Harry's like, what? Who do you hear it from? Page 117. I knew you hadn't really. Told Lockhart you didn't need to. You're more famous than him without trying. Bet he didn't like that, says Harry. Don't think he did. Okay. Skip a bunch again. They go back up to the class, to the school, page 120. And Harry hears a voice. Come to me, let me rip you, let me tear you, let me kill you. What? Lockhart, I know. Because Harry is doing what at this point? This is his detention with Lockhart. Okay? McGonagall said Harry and Ron would have detentions. Harry gets detention with Lockhart. What is Ron's detention? Polishing the trophies in the trophy display case. Okay? It's significant that he has that job. So Harry hears this voice. He asks Lockhart if he heard anything. Says no. So chapter 8, we get Nearly Headless Nick and his death day party. I'm going to skip the part about the quick spell. Okay. And we find out it's Nearly Headless Nick's 500th death day. Well, what day is it? Okay. We're told. Where is that? Page 133. He died October 31st, 1492. Okay? So, what year is it now in the book? It's 1992. In fact, it's 10/31, 1992. It is 11 years since Harry's parents were killed. It's 11 years since Voldemort disappeared. Okay? And they leave the death day party, and Harry hears the voice again, page 137. Rip, tear, kill. Ron and Hermione don't hear it. They go upstairs. They hear, I smell blood. Harry hears, I smell blood, I smell blood. And they find the sign that reads, page 138, the Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies of the air, beware. And what do they see beneath the sign?
The cat.
Mrs. Norris, Filch's cat, who in any other situation, if they found Mrs. Norris without Filch anywhere around, what would they do?
Try to stay out of her way and hide.
Try to stay out of her way?
Probably try and kick her.
Probably kick her. This cat is an informer. We don't know how, but she is. Okay? But instead, she's hanging from a frozen tail. The whole body is frozen. And notice, Ron, let's get out of here. Page 139. Harry, shouldn't we try and help? He even wants to help the stinking cat. Ron, no. We don't want to be found here. But they are. Okay? So people start to think Harry is the heir of Slytherin. They go into Lockhart's office with Snape and Dumbledore. Notice, Lockhart blabs on along while Dumbledore's trying to figure out what happened to Mrs. Norris. And he says, she's just frozen. We'll be able to heal her when the mandrakes that Professor Sprout has been raising are old enough. Okay? I'm going to skip a bunch again. Page 149. They go off to History of Magic. Professor Binns' class. Now describe Professor Binns. I've heard some Professor Binnses in this building, in this department, in terms of how they teach, using same tone of voice, monotone, no inflection, just might as well be flatline, okay? Binns is dead. This is a ghost teaching them. We're told one day he went off into the staff room, fell asleep, and died. Got up the next day and went off and taught his class as a ghost. But for the first time, for apparently in quite a while, the students are paying attention. Why? Because Hermione asks the question about the Chamber of Secrets. My subject is History of Magic, he says, page 149. I deal with facts, Miss Granger, not myths and legends. So she says, okay, well, don't legends usually have a basis in fact? He goes, okay, that's a good point. Okay. So he tells them about the legend, and then why does he say it doesn't exist? What proof does he offer that it doesn't exist? Well, if the likes of Dumbledore can't find it, then it must not be. Okay. Pick up with, they go on from there, 154 and 55. Here he sees spiders. And Hermione says, have you ever seen spiders act like that? Harry, no. You, Ron? And Ron's backing away from the spiders. I don't like spiders. I didn't know that, says Hermione. Ron, I don't mind them dead. It's I don't like the way they move. Hermione giggles. Ron, it's not funny. If you must know, when I was 3, Fred turned my teddy bear into a great big filthy spider because I broke his toy broomstick. You wouldn't like them either if you'd been holding your bear and suddenly it had too many legs. Okay, so when Ron was 3, how old is Fred? Fred's 2 years over, I think. 5. How in the world could Fred turn a teddy bear into a living spider when he was 5? Without a wand. Without learning transfiguration. Remember the first transfiguration class in the first book? They were having difficulty turning a pincushion into a hedgehog. Okay? And it takes years to be able to master that. So why can Fred do that? Without a wand when he's 5 years old. One of the people who's a subscriber on my YouTube said, oh, well, Rowling says, people can do all kinds of magic without wands. Harry, next book, makes his Aunt Marge blow up. He doesn't use his wand. In the first book, we find out, Harry gets away from Dudley and his gang. Ends up on the gymnasium roof. He doesn't use a wand for that. But is that transfiguration? No. Transfiguration, we find out, is very complex magic. This is a problem in the writing, okay? In that she doesn't make subsequent novels agree. This is the first novel. Everything has got to agree with what she says here. And she says in later novels, well, in fact, we saw it earlier with the underage restriction for magic. Okay? Anyways, you're trying to figure out about the water, the spiders. They meet Moaning Myrtle in the girls' bathroom. Okay. Percy comes out, sees them, threatens them, and then takes 5 points from Gryffindor. So Hermione suggests making some polyjuice potion and that they would go find out if Malfoy was the real heir of Slytherin. Then we get the next chapter, the rogue bludger. It's Quidditch in The bludger takes care of Harry. Harry goes to the hospital wing after idiot Gilderoy Lockhart tries to fix his arm and removes all of his bones. And Harry wakes up in the hospital room. He hears noise. And he wakes up and there's Dobby sitting on his chest. Page 176. Harry realizes it was Dobby that stopped him from being able to get through the barrier. Okay. And Dobby tells Harry, page 177, when Harry asks him, why don't you change that thing you're wearing? Why do you wear that thing, Dobby? This, sir, 'tis a mark of the house elf's enslavement, sir. Dobby can only be freed if his masters present him with clothes, sir. Family is careful not to pass Dobby even a sock, sir, for then he would be free to leave their house forever. Dobby tells Harry he needs to go home. He thought the bludger would stop him. Your bludger? Not to kill you, sir, never to kill you. Dobby wants to save Harry Potter's life. Better sent home grievously injured than remain here, sir. Harry, are you going to tell me why you want me sent home in pieces? If Harry Potter only knew. If he knew what he means. Now listen to this. To us, to the lowly, the enslaved, we dregs of the magical world. If Harry Potter only knew what he means to what? All the people that Pope Francis celebrates. And this is one of the things I like about Pope Francis. I'm not Catholic, but it's one of the things I like about him. I don't like when he talks politics and economics, because he doesn't know squat. Okay? What Harry means to us, the lowly, the enslaved, we dregs of the magical world. Okay? Dobby remembers how it was when he who must not be named was at the height of his power, sir. We house elves were treated like vermin. Of course, Dobby is still treated like that. But mostly, sir, life has improved for my kind since you triumphed over he who must not be named. Harry Potter survived and the Dark Lord's power was broken. Okay? Again, is he speaking only about house elves? No. He's speaking about whom in the magical world? Not quite. Everyone who isn't what? A witch or a wizard. So, goblins, centaurs, giants, house elves, and every other non-human magical creature. All right? So Dobby goes on. Harry Potter survived and the Dark Lord's power was broken, and it was a new dawn, sir. And Harry Potter shone like a beacon of hope for those of us who thought the dark days would never end. Harry is like let's just go ahead and paraphrase the Gospel of St. John. A light shining in the darkness. Okay? For whom? For us, the lowly, the enslaved, the dregs of the magical world. Okay? And now terrible things are to happen. Perhaps happening already. And Dobby says, now that the Chamber of Secrets is open once more. Has Dobby read the writing on the wall? No. So there is a Chamber of Secrets. Harry, I'm not going anywhere. One of my best friends is Muggleborn. She'll be first in line if the chamber really has opened. Harry Potter risked his own life for his friends. Sacrifice? So noble, so valiant. But he must save himself. Okay? Dobby freezes. Dumbledore, McGonagall come in. Madame Pomfrey. And who do they bring in? Colin Creevey. Disgusting little character. Frankly, I'm glad when he gets in the end. Holding his camera. And they say, he must have been trying to sneak up here to get a picture of Harry. They take the camera out. McGonagall asks, what does this mean, Albus? Dumbledore, it means that the Chamber of Secrets is open again. But Albus, surely who? Dumbledore, the question is not who, but how. So, Dumbledore admits there is a Chamber of Secrets. But notice, he doesn't know how it's opened. He doesn't really care as much who opened it, but how it got opened. Okay? So we have the dueling club. Lockhart gets permission to start a dueling club. And what does he do? He pairs, Snape pairs Malfoy and Harry. Okay. Lockhart says, Harry, when Draco, this is page 193, when Draco points his wand at you, do this. And he does some kind of movement with his hand. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't give him a spell to say. Okay. Snape goes closer to Malfoy and whispers to him something. And what happens? Out of Malfoy's wand, a snake comes. Lockhart says, allow me. And what does he do? He engorges the snake. He makes it much bigger than it was. And Harry wasn't sure what made him do it, page 194, but he says to the snake, leave him alone. And the snake backs up. Snape makes the snake go away. Harry and Ron leave. And Ron tells him, you're a Parselmouth, page 195. Oh, what? You can talk to snakes. Harry, oh yeah, I know. I set a boa constrictor free once. Harry, I bet loads of people can do it. No. Well, why not? Harry says, wait, I spoke a different language? Yeah. All right. And so Ron says, now the whole school's going to think you're his great-great-great-great-great-grandson or something. His means Slytherins, since he's the only other known famous Parselmouth. And Harry starts thinking, maybe I should have been in Gryffindor. Maybe I am Slytherin's heir. Right? And people that he used to get along with, Hannah Abbott, Ernie Macmillan, start to shy away from him. They don't want to be seen with him. Justin Finch Fletchley, okay. And page 202 and 203, we see there's another attack. This time it's Justin Finch Fletchley, okay, who we were told previously had said that he mentioned to Harry once that he was down for Eton because he was from a Muggle family. Eton, by the way, is like the pinnacle of private boarding schools in England. It's what most students attend before they go off to Oxford. Okay. And who else? Nearly Headless Nick. How do you kill a ghost? Or how do you freeze a ghost? Don't know, but it does. Okay. There's Harry. And notice he's thinking he wants to try to do something. He had to get help, page 202. Okay. Harry goes off to Dumbledore's office. Dumbledore asks him, when Harry goes in, page 207, well, before he goes in. Harry goes in, and he sees Dumbledore's phoenix. Poof. He just caught fire, page 207. I couldn't do anything. About time, too. Okay. And Dumbledore tells Harry about phoenixes. They can carry immensely heavy loads, their tears have healing powers, and they make highly faithful pets. So they talk a little bit. Dumbledore says, Harry, I don't think it's you. But he does ask Harry one question. Is there anything you'd like to tell me about? Notice, very open-ended. Just anything you want to tell me, Harry? Nope. Now, what could Harry tell Dumbledore? I been hearing these voices, so why doesn't he? He thought about what everyone was saying about him. He remembers Ron saying, "You're a parsimouth." And Harry thinks, it's probably not good even in the wizarding world to hear voices that nobody else hears. Because in our world, when people hear voices that nobody else hears, what does that usually mean? You're crazy. Probably you're going to go postal on somebody, okay? So, Harry goes off again. And they do the polyjuice potion. Harry and Ron become Crabbe and Goyle. They go, they meet up with Malfoy. They find out Malfoy is not the heir of Slytherin. And they find Malfoy making fun of Ron's father, which Ron almost blows his cover. And they go back to Hermione. Okay? Chapter 13, the very secret diary. They go into Moaning Myrtle's bathroom, and Harry finds the diary. Notice page 230. Harry steps forward to pick it up. Ron flings an arm out to stop him. What? Are you crazy? Could be dangerous. Come off it. How could it be dangerous? You'd be surprised. Some of the books the ministry's confiscated. Dad's told me there was one that burned your eyes out. Everyone who read Sonnets of a Sorcerer, spoken limericks for the rest of their lives. Harry, okay, I've got the point. And then he dives and gets it. Okay? What is being suggested here? Books can be what? They can be dangerous. Okay? Is Rowling suggesting that books should be banned then? Or destroyed? No. They must be approached with caution. Okay? So, Harry grabs the book, and it's blank. All he sees is on the back cover, name of a store with an address. Must have been Muggleborn. Why? Because it doesn't have an address from Diagon Alley. Vauxhall Road is an important road in London. It's where the Lambeth Palace, where the Archbishop of Canterbury lives in London. Okay? Harry shows Hermione T.M. Riddle's diary. She says, ooh, it might have hidden powers. And Ron's like, T.M. Riddle. He got an award for special services. Okay? And this diary is 50 years old, says Hermione. Come on, Ron, wake up. We know the person, page 233. We know the person who opened the chamber last time was expelled 50 years ago. We know T.M. Riddle got an award for special services to the school 50 years ago. T.M. Riddle got, okay, so 50 years ago, it's 1992, so 50 years ago was 1942. Okay? What if Riddle got a special award for catching the heir of Slytherin? Ron, wonderful theory. There's nothing written in the diary. She says it might be invisible ink. Okay? They keep talking about Riddle, and Ron says, page 234, he sounds like Percy. Prefect, head boy, probably top of his class. Hermione, you say like that's a bad thing or something. Because that's what Hermione wants. She wants to be a prefect, she wants to be head girl, wants to be top of her class. Okay? So, Valentine's Day comes and goes. And page 240, 41. Harry gets the diary, he gets up in his bed. He has his quill and he drops a blot of ink on the page. And it disappears. So he gets another fill of ink and writes, my name is Harry Potter. And they too disappear. And then words appear. Hello, Harry Potter. My name is Tom Riddle. How did you come by my diary? Harry replies, and then Tom Riddle says some stuff. He talks about the Chamber of Secrets. He says, in my day, they said it was a legend, but it wasn't. In my 5th year, the chamber was opened. So, in 1942, that was Tom Riddle's 5th year. Okay? So he started in 1937, right? That's when he would have been 11. So Tom Riddle was born in 1926. Okay? In 1942, because we're going to get introduced to Hagrid again in just a moment, Hagrid was what? The 3rd year. Okay? So Hagrid was 13 in 1942. So he started 3 years earlier in 1939. So he was probably born right around 1928. Okay? Which makes Hagrid how old in this book? Right? This book's 1992, 1928. 28 and 50 would give you 97. So take off, right? No, and 70 would get you that. So he's 65. Hagrid is. Right? And he's 67. In case you're interested. So, Riddle shows Harry his memories. Harry comes back out of the book and tells Ron, Hagrid opened the Chamber of Secrets 50 years ago. Notice what Harry is doing. What is Harry assuming?
That he did it again.
No. What's he assuming about what Tom Riddle is telling him? That it's true. In other words, Harry's approaching this book as if everything you can read is true. Okay? I think Rowling might be suggesting you need to learn to read. Children, people reading these books, need to learn to read with a critical mind. That is, to not believe everything that they read. All right? So, Harry hears the voice again, page 254 and 55. Hermione says, I've got something. She runs off to the library. Harry runs off to the Quidditch match. Quidditch match is canceled. And McGonagall takes Harry and Ron because now it's Hermione that's been hit. And Pansy Parkinson. No, not Pansy Parkinson. Penelope, what's her name? Percy's girlfriend. Okay? So Harry and Ron go down to talk to Hagrid, page 254. And what do they see? They're down there for a few minutes, knock on the door, and there's Dumbledore, Lucius Malfoy, and Cornelius Fudge. What are they there for? To take Hagrid off to Azkaban. Why? Is he being arrested? Is he being charged? No. This is all, it's called just for a precaution. So for precaution's sake, Hagrid is being sent to the wizarding prison. Notice, without any charge, without any trial. He doesn't go before a judge or anything. Okay? Dumbledore wants to make it clear he doesn't think Hagrid is at all to blame for this. And what is Malfoy there for? He's saying the Board of Governors is removing Dumbledore from office. Why? Because all these horrible things are happening. We can't have a Muggle-born get harmed. Okay? Fudge says, page 261, look, Albus, ministry's got to do something. Got to be seen doing something. Does it matter what? No. Just as long as the public sees some kind of action going on. So, Malfoy shows up, says Dumbledore is suspended, and before Dumbledore leaves, Dumbledore says, 263, you will find that I will only truly have left this school when none here are loyal to me. You will also find that help will also be given at Hogwarts to those who ask for it. Malfoy, admirable sentiments. And then Hagrid says, you can also learn some stuff if you follow the spiders. And they're like, what? Okay. So, Dumbledore is removed from office. Hagrid is sent off to Azkaban. Hermione is petrified. It's up to Harry and Ron. So Harry and Ron go off into the forest to follow the spiders. Notice, between the time when Dumbledore and Hagrid leave and Harry and Ron go off into the forest, people start coming up to Harry and saying what? Admitting what? Like Ernie Macmillan. We were wrong. How do they know they were wrong? Or Harry isn't the heir of Slytherin. Because he would never do that to Hermione. He would never do it to his closest friend. Okay? So now all these people come up and they kind of support Harry. So they go off into the forest, they meet Aragog, they nearly get eaten by Aragog, but what does Aragog tell them? What do they learn from Aragog? That there is, at Hogwarts, Aragog's kind of worst enemy. Something that hates spiders. They go to Hermione's bedside in the hospital wing, and they find her hand is clenched like this. They pull it open, and they find the piece of paper ripped from the book that talks about the basilisk. That the basilisk and the spider hate each other. The cock's crowing can kill the basilisk, which is why all of Hagrid's roosters have been killed. Okay? And Hermione writes on it, pipes. And they figure out the basilisk is moving around the building through the pipes. Okay? This is around page 290, 291. One more person gets taken. Ginny Weasley. And the professors all say, okay, we know the person for the job because they're trying to get rid of him. Trying to get him out of the way. Okay? Gilderoy Lockhart. Because he said after Hagrid was taken away, no, that's the end of the problem. Okay? Page 293. Lockhart comes into the staff room. He dozed off. Says, what have I missed? And they tell him. And McGonagall says, 294, well, we'll leave it to you then, Gilderoy. Okay. He goes off, and McGonagall says, right, that's got him out from under our feet. In other words, now we can do whatever it is we're going to do. Okay. And Harry and Ron go off to find Lockhart. And what does Lockhart reveal to them? Page 297. My dear boy, use your common sense. Does anybody else apparently in the wizarding world use their common sense in thinking about Lockhart's books? My books wouldn't have sold half as well if people didn't think I'd done all those things. No one wants to read about some ugly old Armenian warlock, even if he did save a village from werewolves. He'd look dreadful on the front cover. No dress sense at all. And the witch who banished the banded banshee had a hairlip. I mean, come on. So you've just been taking credit for what a load of other people have done? Harry, it's not as simple as that. There was work involved. I had to track these people down. I had to ask them exactly how they did what they did. Then I had to put a memory charm on them and steal their stories. Okay? So he pulls out his wand. Harry and Ron Expelliarmusen. Harry finds the entrance, and they go down into the subterranean room. We'll stop there. We'll pick up with chapter 17. Start Prisoner of Azkaban for Thursday, because we'll finish this within 20 minutes and then get into Prisoner of Azkaban.